Welcome to the 2-month review. I'm Chad Post from Open Letter Books, and I'm joined by Brian Wood, author extraordinaire, and we have this podcast every single week.
I feel like are you being ironic when you say author extraordinaire? It feels like you're making a joke about me.
I am not making a joke about you. What I am trying to do is figure out why I screwed that intro up so hard. So all of a sudden the volume came on the YouTube channel for this. So this is a 2-month review. Every week we take a long book, we break it down bit by bit, we talk about it, we make jokes, we analyze it, we get into all sorts of different discussions about literature and translation and whatever else. And probably none of that's going to happen today.
Oh, excellent.
You know, fuck it. This is the last episode of the Book of Disquiet, Fernando Pessoa season, in which we have made our way through this. I meant to tell you this, but we tried to get Margaret Jill Costa, the translator, on today, and she couldn't because she's traveling. But I mentioned to her that this season had been a bit frustrating at times because reading this book cover to cover in this way is not the easiest thing. And she basically agreed and was like, yeah, it's very hard to read it that way. Like, that's not how it was really meant. And like, I could understand like how that would get odd and frustrating. So,
but you know what?
We did it.
We did it. Is that one of those write like a motherfucker mugs?
Yeah, it is.
It is. I just saw the backup said the Robin. So we read this like a motherfucker. And this is our holiday party edition. Like, we did it. It's the end of the year. Hooray!
If you think there's coffee in here, you're Also, if you're listening to this live or you're watching it live or listening to it later, this is the last chance to win at 2-month review bingo. I've posted the card on Twitter again. You can find it on 3%, but no one's cashed in on their prizes. So like, if anyone wants to win, you can win. And I couldn't find any merchandise to bring today. So instead I have a shirt that's about baseball, and I'm going to just, I'm merchandising baseball because it's winter and I'm sick of winter already and I want baseball back.
See, I'm more, I actually care about the world and the environment. I'm wearing the name brand Patagonia, but I bought it from their secondhand store where they recycle clothes. So I'm not purchasing new threads. I recycle clothing because we have one mother, one earth, and we got to take care of it, Chad.
This is related to the podcast that I just recorded that people will be able to hear soon, in which Tom and I decided we don't give out gifts because people don't need things.
It is true. That's very true.
Yeah. It's also maybe a good excuse for being shitty at giving gifts. But
well, speaking about not needing things, how about Pessoa? He talks about like, why do we write books? These are pointless. So
So this last section, I don't know how much
a pointless book. We made it.
I don't even know where we started because I left my my pad that had like where we started and where we left off at home. But in the middle of page 427, which I believe is part of this week's section, I just wrote, "What is this?"
Well, so we started. I think it was fragment 394.
So we're right there.
In the New Directions version, that's page 422.
Yeah. So in the first part of this section, I just wrote, "What is this?"
Where did you write that?
I wrote it above a paragraph that says, "Who were we? Were we two or two forms of the same person? We did not know, nor did we ask. There must have been some kind of sun somewhere because the forest, it wasn't yet dark night." I said, what is this? What's going on? I think that this was the section. Oh, I remember now. My memory's coming back. This section 395 is bizarre because it's one that like is almost like wants to be a story. It doesn't seem to fit into this book at all. And I think that's why I wrote like, "What is this?" on top of it.
Mist or smoke? The one that starts like that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's such a weird section.
There were some curiosities that I came across in this one. Like, go to section 400, fragment 400. It's on page 430.
Yeah.
So read that one.
Should I read it in my good voice or in my making fun of shit voice?
Do you have a good voice?
No. I'll go all in.
The great answer. No. So it's 1932?
Maybe.
Is what it says on the right-hand side. Okay.
The heat, like a piece of invisible clothing, makes you want to throw it off.
Okay. So I noticed they do these chronologically. So I was like, okay, so it's really hot in Lisbon, I guess. But then you go right before that, 399 is the 30th of the December, 1932. So this happens between December 30th and are there 31 days in December, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it either happened on the 30th or the 31st on this one, right? There's one day where this could happen. So apparently it's really hot in the dead of winter in Lisbon. Like, this just seems, doesn't that seem curious to you?
Yeah, that is weird.
That one doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. You're right. Absolutely.
And then the timing of it is really bizarre as well, because the one before, like, they have it nailed dead. Like, they have the exact date, the 30th of December, 1932. And this one is 1932, which gives you, all of 48 hours where this could have been written. So this is proof that global warming is not man-made. We have the proof right here in Pessoa.
Yeah. Pessoa made it. Pessoa made global warming.
It was hot at the end of the year in 1932. And don't tell me about greenhouse gases, because the Industrial Revolution wasn't that full on yet.
Nope.
There wasn't enough population for this. So all you global warming people, no, go to Pessoa.
Pessoa's got it.
I've got the
he knows everything. Man,
global warming.
I don't remember underlining any of this.
No, I just obviously that's super nitpicky and weird, but I just thought that was really curious. That's a weird section.
They did when we talked to them about ordering it and trying to figure out where things went into place, there didn't seem to be any indication of internal logic. It was his handwriting plus where the papers were, and all these are question marks. There's no real dated stuff. I mean, some of them are dated, but there's a lot of them that are question marks. So whatever, but it's weird that you would then, I don't know what your system is then to put them into chronological order. If that's your calling card for this book, if part of the reason that this edition exists is that it's the only one that's in this order, I feel like there should be a larger justification than it sort of looked like it was written around this time.
And see, this, I wish we could have, this would have been great stuff to talk to, what is it? Geronimo Pizarro about. It would have been a great one to talk to him about that.
He did talk a little bit about it, but not.
Yeah, because obviously, there's, just like there are with, the way Valerie Miles is when she talked about Bolaño. There's people that devote a lot of huge intellect into one person's work, and there's people that do that with Pessoa. Obviously, I'd like to know how they do it, because obviously I don't do that. You don't do that, so. But,
yeah, Richard Zenith would have been interesting to have on too.
Sure.
It's unfortunate. We were lacking in guests towards the end of the season, which is fine by me. But we'll come back to that. So if anyone wants to be a guest in future seasons, give me a line. Drop a line, give me a ring. I don't know, whatever.
Next season's what, French? We're doing some French literature?
Yeah, I meant to grab a copy of it to show everyone, but I didn't.
That's fine.
But yeah, we'll talk about it at the end, but Radiant Terminus by Antoine Boladin. But yeah, with this section, it was good to get this done, to be honest. Sure. I kind of skimmed through this and was fine. It all feels pretty much the same. There's a reference to math, which I liked, and section 398, the most exact science is mathematics, which lives cloistered in its own rules and laws. It is, of course, useful when applied to elucidating the other sciences, but only elucidates what they discover. It doesn't help them to make discoveries, which I thought was fun because I like math. And there's a series of all those aphorisms that begin each one of these. And the last one I included in my article today: freedom is the possibility of isolation.
I like that. Sure.
Death is a liberation because to die is to need no one else.
Hey, speaking of freedom, let's bring this right back with global warming. All right. Speaking of freedom, what is the best way to isolate yourself? Build a wall.
Build a wall. I had a professor in college, a psychology professor, who was pretty funny. It's basically his whole class is more or less stand-up comedy plus psychology learning mixed in there. And he talked about having anxiety of death anxieties and being really afraid of dying at various points in his life. And he's it was sucked because it can be really crippling and paralyzing if you're always afraid that you're about to die. And he's and not knowing what's going to happen. And he's but people die all the time and they don't fuck it up. And people fuck up everything. So dying must be really, really easy. So it's
the only thing we're good at.
It's the only thing. No one's fucked it up.
Yeah. What was the the subheading for that Nabokov book? Was it dying is fun or something like that?
Oh, I don't.
What was that the last unfinished work he had?
Oh, the original of Laura.
The original of Laura. I thought the cover of it said "dying is fun," or maybe I'm misremembering. See, I messed that up. I need to go die. Do something right. Happy holidays.
Yeah, a novel in fragments is what it says on the cover.
Okay, never mind.
That's close. It was a literary event of 2009, according to someone.
Yeah, it was an expensive book to make, I'm sure.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah. So we're gonna
Just like this, I imagine this was a very expensive book to make. This looks like, just as a package, this looks very substantial and nice and expensive.
How much does this book retail for? $25.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
You know, I'd say it's worth every penny of $25. Because
Yeah.
one, like it's just beautiful. I think it's like it's something you want to display on your shelf. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And to me, like the way I'd want to read this in the future, and the way I will read this in the future, is just to pick it up, open up a passage, and just read a passage. Anyway,
Yeah.
like the way you would like read Proverbs out of the Bible or something, like
Or poetry from your favorite.
or poetry from your favorite author. You know, you just because to me, I find it very inspiring. I found the writing to be like in fragments. I found it. I like that idea. I forgot who it was. Oh, it was your author. Joao was saying he called them, instead of sections, he was calling them fragments. Fragment 144, fragment 150. Like I like thinking of it as fragments.
Yeah.
And I think the way I want to read this is to just read a fragment on its own, and just kind of contemplate what's there. And I can enjoy the language more.
Yeah.
I can enjoy what he's doing. I can enjoy the translation more.
I bet if you like
That's what
read
I'm gonna
one a
do.
day, like someone should make a page a day calendar of these.
The Pessoa app.
Yeah, the Pessoa app.
Yeah.
Trademark that. Trademarked. That's mine.
Yeah, and I think the little app icon would be wonderful just to be that. That would look really cool on your smart device.
And then you click and it's like, today is December a day. 18th? Sure. 19th. December 19th. Here's like fragment 420. And just like.
Well, you'd save that fragment for Earth Day, but sure.
What is fragment 420 anyways?
Let's try it out. Fragment 420 for Earth Day.
When considered in the light of our inner serenity, we see all those unfortunate chance events in our life when we are either ridiculous or despicable or appallingly late as misfortunes that happened on the journey. In this world, we travelers, whether voluntary or involuntary, between nothing and nothing, or between everything and everything, are mere passengers and should not give too much importance to any setbacks experienced en route, to any bumps and bruises suffered along the way. I console myself with that, whether because it does console me or because there is something genuinely consoling about it, I don't know. But that fictitious consolation does become real if I don't think about it.
Hold on. Here's your 420 quote that you do for Pessoa. There's the clear, high, calm sky, across which the occasional imperfect clouds float by. Period. Done.
Full stop. Yeah.
Full stop. Happy Earth Day.
I'm high. 420.
That would work. We can do that. It's not a bad idea, actually.
No, it'd be kind of fun. It'd be pretty cool. I would read it that way. Like that is much better. Like this forcing it in this way has been.
I don't want to read. I don't want to read this book this way.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was like it is just. It's like
it was a labor. It was a labor. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that we muscled through. But it was a labor. And this to me shouldn't be a labor. This is a beautiful book. So
since I'm a millennial, I'm going to.
Nice try. Nice try, old man. I see that gray on your soul patch. Get out of here. Just because you sit in a beanbag chair doesn't mean you're cool like me.
I'm gonna display this book in my house this way so that the spine's in, like those cool kids, the cool millennials like me, like my fellows, like we do, because it's got so many marks and stuff. It makes me look really smart. Like I know shit. Like there's a lot of folded over pages in there.
I dog-eared that. I just put random Post-its in books I haven't even read just to look smart. And I don't want somebody to come over and be like, "You haven't read any of these, have you?"
There's an old Flann O'Brien. He wrote a newspaper column, and one of the columns he wrote about having a service where he would go in and put marginalia in people's books in their library, so that when they're having a dinner party, someone would like pick up a book and be like, "That's really insightful. This person's very smart."
That's a great idea, actually.
I think it would be, yeah. We need that. So your book is coming out this fall, and you had a meeting today with your publisher and with your marketing director for your book, and you guys probably talked a little bit about jacket copy or like how to describe your book anyway, your elevator pitch, your stuff like that. So let's not talk about your book, but let's do that. No, if you have an elevator pitch for your book, you should share it. But
I'll do it later it doesn't come out until October. Okay, my daughter said she's eating nachos. Yes.
Sounds good.
Kid interruption. Go ahead and knock it.
Yeah.
Check that one off.
Check it off. You got baseball as a merchandise.
Yeah.
Got fuck something, I'm sure. Got kid interruption. Bad awkward opening.
Got that.
You guys are nailing this bingo this week. Someone better win. But we were gonna write jacket copy for Pessoa. You mentioned this as an idea, and like we did.
So like blurbs have been on my mind a lot because I have to wrangle some blurbs and whatnot, in which jacket copy is part of that as well. I don't know about the jacket copy for my book yet, but I'll talk about that maybe when it's closer to publication date. Like we still might be in a nuclear holocaust before we get there, so I don't want to waste people's time. In case.
We're gonna be scrounging for food and not giving a shit about books.
All right, so the game was I was reading one of those books, like what are they called? Publishers weekly books or whatever those ones are for a craft, and they're usually basically miserable, right? And there was one of them at the end of this. It was a book on like plot or plotting systems or something lame. It had how to write your jacket copy, and there's a formula that you're supposed to do. So I thought, what better way than to do it with this book, which would not work at all for a formula. So for all of you listening, if you have a favorite book or you're writing on your own book, let me share with you how you can write your own jacket copy. And this is a great way of helping you figure out the plot of your story as well.
Oh no.
Paragraph 1. Begin the first paragraph with your lead character's name. We're already in trouble.
Yeah.
and her current situation. Blank is a blank who blank.
Okay, so my first one, I made a bunch of these because I figured like fragments of the book that I would just fragment my jacket copy. And my very first one is a dreamer who claims to be too poor to be a dreamer.
Okay.
That fits.
Okay, so you start with that, and then you write one or two more sentences describing something of the character's background and current world, right? So
a man of inaction whose mind never rests, a street, a dead-end job.
Perfect. You are knocked. That's a solid double.
I didn't even read your thing. I didn't know what your thing was. I just made this up like spur of the moment in the middle of like glasses of wine while I was writing a different article.
This is when it gets good. Paragraph 2. Start this paragraph with the word suddenly or but when.
But okay, so I didn't do that. However, I do have the book that launched 1,000 emo bands and reams of bad Insta poetry is finally available in its longest form possible.
Okay. Fill in the major turning point, the doorway that is going to thrust the lead into Act 2. Describe in 2 or 3 sentences what happens in Act 2.
Out of these parts grows a singular metaphysical vision from one of the most singular writers of the 20th century, Fernando Pessoa. Or should we say Bernardo Soares or Vicente Guedes? Who knows? Does any of this matter?
Paragraph 3. Begin the last paragraph with the word now and make it an action sentence. As in David Morrell's Long Lost, now Brad must struggle with a harrowing mystery. Or begin with the word will and write a couple of questions. Will Molly be able to claim her inheritance? Or will she be stopped by a deadly force that she can't identify? So
now the window is smudged.
Perfect. And then you got to end with an inspirational kicker. And this is just for your own benefit. Add a final kicker that is pure marketing.
One of the greatest anti-novels of all time.
Bang. Yeah, nailed it. Okay. So all right. So paragraph 1, blank is a blank who blanks. Paragraph 2, suddenly or but when. And then 3, now or will. And then your inspirational kicker. So you have 4 total paragraphs.
Yeah,
you have yours?
More or less did this. Yeah, so here's mine. I just cribbed all these ones together to following your rules, and here's what I came up with.
All right. These aren't my rules, by the way. These belong to a crime novelist, or no, I think he does lawyer crime novels, whatever those are called. James Scott Bell is his name. He writes all those like dialogue, how to do plot, blah 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 books. Okay.
So here's the book of Disquiet, jacket copy as prescribed by that guy whose name I already forgot.
James Scott Bell. Have some respect.
James Scott Bell. I was gonna say,
right. Come on.
Scott. Good. Okay. A dreamer
He's
who.
got 3 names. That's a real author.
It's like Madison Smart Bow.
Yeah.
You have a middle
You gotta
name
have
that
3 names.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. You're either a serial killer or a good writer, or not a serial killer, an assassin, I suppose.
Or serial killer. You're right. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Those two.
Ted fucking Bundy. Okay.
Okay. A dreamer who claims to be too poor to be a dreamer. A man of inaction whose mind never rests. A street, a dead-end job. Now, the book that launched 1,000 emo bands and reams of bad insta poetry is finally available in its longest form possible. The window is smudged. One of the greatest anti-novels of all time.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like somebody had like a stroke in the middle of writing that blurb or that in that jacket copy. Like, am I missing something here?
All right, these things have to connect.
So I chose, since we have two lead characters, I guess you could say. I just chose Bernardo Soares because it's the larger and more narrative of the two. So this might be wrong, but this whole thing is wrong, so it's fine. All right. Bernardo Soares is a humble accounts clerk in downtown Lisbon who's, I can't read my own writing, who dreams of a better world. And he feels as if someone is using his own life to beat him. But when he begins writing and capturing his dreams and thoughts on leaf after leaf of paper, his life begins to flow outside him, and as if carried by the footsteps of passers-by. Now, lost in the endless depths of his meditative musings and embraced by the arms of his beloved Lisbon, Soares sets out to craft the book for the dreamer, the lover, the disillusioned and thoughtful, the saddest book in Portugal. Fernando Pessoa's timeless masterpiece, The Book of Disquiet, is now in a complete form and is sure to capture your attention with its searing stillness and profound musings.
Wow. You should send that to New Directions. I dare you to send that as New Directions. Be like, for the paperback edition.
Hey, for your paperback, I've got this paint by numbers blurb for you. Or the jacket copy. Yeah.
I did come up with one blurb too. Without Pessoa, there would be no such thing as Portugal. That's from every Brooklyn writer.
All right, so I'm of the school. There's only 2 types of blurbs, and I think we've covered this before in a previous part. There's either that's a writer or that's a book.
Oh yeah.
Right. I got my first blurb back that I sent out, and it was that's a writer blurb, which means they probably didn't read the book.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I thought, since describing this book would be like impossible in a blurb, I just would decide my blurb for this would be, now that's a writer. Quote. So just boom.
These are a lot of gifts we're giving New Directions.
Yeah.
They're not
just,
even
can you imagine that in just like a nice big huge, Jokerman Sans font on the front of it, really pretty. Now that's a writer! Exclamation point.
Writer. Yeah, you need the exclamation point for sure.
Or no, what you need to do is have another writer's name. Borges? ? No, Pessoa! Exclamation point. Or something like that, right? Like,
that would be perfect.
Like writer to writer.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Oh my God.
Spain has Don Quixote. Lisbon, Book of Disquiet, or something like Whoa, whoa.
Yeah. As important as Don Quixote, but more contemporary and slightly shorter.
As beautiful, sad, and mind-numbing as Ronaldo.
Ooh, throwing some serious shade.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, well, I'm glad we read this. It's nice to check it off the list.
It's a bruiser. It's tough to read cover to cover, but you like bruising people, and that's why
I'm in this game.
Yeah,
I don't want people to feel safe.
It's funny, I didn't have time. I was gonna for the video audience, I was gonna actually get a Christmas gift for you and unwrap it for you in front of you. It's just gonna be a bag of sugar. And you were gonna be like, oh wow, a big bag of sugar, thanks. What's this for? And I'm like, well, maybe you could sprinkle this instead of being salty all the time. Here's some sweetness for once in your life, Chad. Why don't you try this for the new year? That was going to be like my little gag gift for you, but
wait till you read today's post. Today's post is like the transition to cheerfulness.
But the problem was my wife and I have like cut back on having sugar in our lives, so I didn't have any sugar in the house.
I can't even think of the last time I've had sugar that's like in any way like even part of a recipe.
Shut up! Why don't you? You're like a vegan person. You got to be telling everybody about how healthy you are. And
I had a dream that I ate a donut, and I woke up and I was like, God, fuck! What is I doing? That's horrible. Wait a second, that was just a dream. Like I didn't actually eat a donut.
So I don't always listen to the podcast you do with Tom, but so it is the year. Like I was looking to see if Pessoa's. This book was 2018, right? Or was it 2017?
I thought it was this year.
Shame on me for not knowing this off the top of my head.
It says 2017. But
okay. All right. Because I was looking to see on there's all the year-end lists like that just come out like crazy, and it's this weird thing of like, I don't know. It's like candy corn at Halloween time, where like you're like, oh, that's gross. All right, I'll have a handful of it, or like. I feel like those like lists are sort of like, I don't know. They're like catnip or whatever. Like you can't not rub them all over your face and then hate yourself for it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see Pessoa anywhere. It makes sense because it came out last year.
I'm looking for 2017 year-end list though too, as you go through yours.
Yeah. No, and I just noticed like the crazy thing with the lists is like there's two books on these lists. Like one of them was like the most scathing reviews, and they were like My Struggle was on there for people like hating My Struggle, but then it's also on the same list as the best like one of the best books that won a big award or whatever. They had a list of like who won big awards or one of like the best translations. It was one of the best translation books of the year. So I find it interesting that it can simultaneously be on the worst reviewed, one of the worst reviews written about a book, and then like one of the best books. So
nothing makes sense. Nothing matters.
But when I thought about that, is that the sign of a good book? One that somebody will absolutely hate and somebody will absolutely love?
I don't think Penguin much appreciated this, but one of the first articles for this 3% series that I wrote was in last January was about The Perfect Nanny by Leila Slimani, which is not a great book. It's just a pulpy sort of.
It's on a lot of lists of people enjoying it quite a bit.
I don't think that's true. I think that's just a book they read. Like I think it's a book that they read, and like most of those lists consist of like what book did you read that you can recall at this moment in time. Like and it's a book that involves like a woman murdering a bunch of kids. So like fuck doesn't like that.
Sure.
But it's not good. It's not well written. It's not interesting. How
do you really feel about it? I should have got you that sugar. I knew it.
No. I mean, it's fine. It's just not. It's nothing that like 100 years from now, someone's gonna be like, this was a turning point. This was like a pinnacle of this sort of writing. It's just like there.
So what? We can only read books that are gonna be around 100 years. Jeez, Chad, that's no fun. No,
I mean we can read anything. It's just like. It's just putting in perspective. It's not Pessoa.
Well, according to Chad, all I can read is the Bible. So.
but the article was all based around that book would sell 1 billion copies because it had an equal number of 1-star reviews and 5-star reviews on Amazon, and that you needed a book that people had to hate or love to be able to like sell it, be a bestseller. Like if everyone liked the book, it wouldn't do as well as like people being like fuck this book. And I just quoted all the 1-star reviews, and they're pretty amazing, or a bunch of them. They're wonderful. They always are.
I think I'm just doing that because I'm preparing myself for like, well, eventually when mine comes out and the reviews come in, like I'm sure it's going to be like, hate it. Like this is terrible. Like this person needs to go do they're not good at writing. They should be good at dying. Go die. Like I'm expecting something like that, right?
My God. It's always assuming that people will actually review things too.
Yeah, I know.
So are there any 1-star reviews for Book of Disquiet?
It feels like it's one like everybody across the board says they love.
5% of people did not. Okay, here's the first one from Andrew Billick. A visual insult, then a literary insult. Reader beware. Amazon has followed its usual procedure of cobbling reviews for 3 totally different editions of the same book together. After having read all the reviews of this book, one could get a good idea of what Pessoa is all about. He's not for everyone, but get a distorted idea of this particular edition.
That's for the New Directions
This is
edition?
really long, yeah.
Oh.
Barry Moyer. Nice cover. After that, it was all downhill. As seen from a window, I couldn't look through unless I closed my eyes. 1 star.
I want to
Wait. This is perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Mona Rochelle. Bizarre. I had read that Pessoa was a brilliant Portuguese poet. The book was awful, frenetic, bizarre, and hard to follow. I suggest you check one out from your local library to determine if you like his writing before you spend money as a screening measure. Close reader, not so hard to put down. Okay, I've read only 50 pages or so, and I'm finding the book very easy to put down, and I'm still waiting for him to turn a corner, as another reviewer puts it, and totally change his miserable attitude. As far as I can tell so far, this is just Pessoa scribbling all his depressing thoughts in a journal. No plot or poetry so far that I could detect, and I'm a lover of modern poetry. I'm going to finish it, though, just to see if it'll change my life, as so many people claim it will. But why do I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be one big wallow through all 500 pages? 1 star. Holy shit, these are the best.
These are wonderful.
Oh, Amazon customer. Not new, damaged. 1 star.
Do they mean the book or the writing?
I'm guessing that they got a fucked up copy and are just like 1 star.
No, I took it as the writing. I took it as his writing. This is nothing new. This writing is damaged.
Broken. Here's one other person who's like, I'm like, you could accept this as a viewpoint. Mark Broadhead, who has a photo on here. The Book of Pretentiousness. Nothing can prepare you for this work. No one in the history of literature has written with more pretentiousness and self-indulgence. How Pessoa can present himself as both pathetic and heroic at the same time is a miracle of narcissism. In contemporary terms, this is like an adolescent blog. He dismally attempts to disguise his platitudes as lyrical profundity. 1 star.
So that person never made it to the Suarez part.
No. 75% of people gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful blurb, though. A miracle of narcissism. There it is. That's a.
I want to put that on. I want to blurb that. You should use that as like every time that someone asks you to blurb something, you should just put that.
Yeah.
That would be a better game than like the Steingart blurbing everything and just always accepting whatever. Is that if an author used the same blurb for every single book and it was just that?
Yeah.
Get famous and then do that.
A book so bad, Steingart wouldn't blurb it. Put that on the card.
I want to blurb your book. I'll do one of those.
Sure, yeah, I'll let you. That's fine.
Oh man. So next up, we're gonna switch a little bit to a book that has a plot, but it's a sci-fi plot of sorts. And is generally considered to be a work of speculative fiction, and that is Radiant Terminus by Antoine Boulodin. We'll have a podcast in which we go into like sort of the Boulodin mythos and who he is. But just to set this up and to segue from Pessoa to Boulodin, Boulodin's actually a pseudonym, and the author goes by Boulodin, writes under a number of pseudonyms, including Manuela Draeger, who is a female writer, Lutz Bassman, and someone else whose name I'm blanking out on. But he's written 42 books that are all part of what he refers to as like post-exoticism. And it is like a sort of futurish world in which there's been a movement of writers called the post-exoticists. And they've been jailed and eliminated because their works are, upending the powers that be. And so his books like take different forms, or some of them are like explaining this situation of like the grand thing of who the writers are. There's writers that recur throughout all of these books, different names that are referenced throughout his like oeuvre. And some of the books are more explanatory of like what this post-exoticism is, such as the one book we did, Post-Exoticism in 10 Lessons, Lesson 11. But then there are other ones that are like representatives of this type of writing. And Radiant Terminus falls into more of that camp, where it's like a novel that fits within this world that he's sort of created through these other books, but that you don't need to know about to just read Radiant Terminus. And it's about future in which the third Soviet Union or the second Soviet Union has fallen. There's nuclear winter everywhere, and there are certain people who live in a camp, and this guy who ends up there and meets some crazy people and has a crazy relationship with the main leader's daughter. And I'll leave it at that because there's a lot more to it. But it's a book that we'll be able to like recap and get into, and it's not like this at all. It is strange, Bulletin writes in strange ways and like tests like the ability of what you can consider to be reality or not reality at every moment. But it's also like very readable and very fun.
Okay, yeah, I passed out in all of that after you said speculative fiction. That was really boring. That was really boring, Chad. I'll read it. I'll still read it, but you need to work on your elevator pitches. That like I want this elevator to go through the basement floor so I could die.
It's like Jessica Jones in a post-apocalyptic Russia.
Boom. All right. Thank you. Was that so hard?
No, I was waiting. I was waiting for that. I've got that down. It does have a guy who goes into people's minds and controls them.
Necromancer. Or no, Nightmare. That's Nightmare. Which I think that's supposed to be the villain for Doctor Strange 2 is Nightmare.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
Which that has a Pessoa connection too, because he haunts people's dreams.
This is true. So yeah, so Radiant Terminus will be available in January. We're starting a lot of new stuff on 3%, and we'll be doing like a featured author each month of ours, and the featured author for January will be Billowdean. So all of
awesome. Oh, cool. Very cool.
Counted. And we'll start up the new season probably the week of January 22nd, because I know you'll be in San Diego, but if you can call in, Tom Flynn and Anthony and I will all be staying in a house in Albuquerque for Winter Institute, and we could do a mass introduction to Antoine Billowdean from our game room at the Airbnb where we're staying.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that.
And that'll be fun. So we'll kick it off there with an intro, and then I'll have the schedule up well before that as to like what our reading is, but it'll go mostly through February and March.
I'm going to be at a Marriott, so I know for sure they're going to have fantastic Wi-Fi. So
I've seen those commercials.
I'll be good.
I think you like girl from Pitch Perfect gets. Did she do the advertisements for that one?
I don't know.
I don't either. She does them for one of them. I don't know what her name is. Anna something. Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, that's a person.
Yeah. She's in the commercials for a hotel.
Okay.
This is how good I am at watching TV.
Yeah.
And remembering people's names. Anyways, I don't have anything else to add to this. I'm glad we did it. It was fun. I hope people enjoyed it. I hope people get this book and like read it slowly but surely, or off and on, or in hopscotch fashion. But like,
well, this is my my quote to end all of Pessoa is fragment 410.
That's one I flipped to.
To write is to forget. Literature is the pleasantest way to ignoring life, or pleasantest way of ignoring life.
Here's mine, which I had that circled too as one of mine. But the one I went for last night, I was reading this and circled and went all nuts on, is not even a fragment. It's not even part of it. It's in the appendix. It's 2 notes. It says the organization of the book should be based on as rigorous a selection as possible of the various existing texts, adapting any older ones that are untrue to the psychology of Bernardo Soares as it is now emerging. Apart from that, there needs to be a general revision of style, but without losing the personal tone or the drifting, disconnected logic that characterizes it. And I thought, yeah, I would have liked that.
Well, just a little salt to end the whole thing.
Can't let it go.
Can't get away. I knew I should have got you that bag of sugar.
Would have helped. Would have made a difference. No, it's a great book, but it's funny to see that on the last page of like, whoa, hold on.
No, I think the precise reasons of why we like it, and maybe some of the questions we have about it, is why it's going to be so enduring and for so long, because it is an unfinished book, and it is always going to be through somebody else, like an editor's lens. So it'll change with the times.
It would be interesting to see like over, because it hasn't been out that long, but like over whatever number of editions come out over the next like 100 years, to see like what the sort of mentality is of how it gets arranged at the time that it's being arranged in the world. So like if the first one, if the Zenith one is based on like the texts that are dated as a framework and then the other themes in there, I wonder what that says about that moment versus this idea of like this completed chronological thing feels very much about time.
Yeah, that's the okay. So we have the blurb for that's an author or that's a writer. That's the blurb for that's a book. It goes, the Book of Disquiet, the book for our time, ... for any time. That's now that's a book.
Yeah,
that's that blurb, right?
That's
the book of our times, ... for any time.
It feels like something.
Sounds like a beer commercial.
Yeah, that's true.
The beer for our times, for any time.
Michelob Ultra. because because you don't want to drink real beer.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
it was a fun season, man. Appreciate
it was good times. I've got to find one more terrible song to put on the end of this podcast, since these ones have all been ending with like the worst emo songs ever, 90% of which I've never heard before. I've got one last one to find. I think I know what it's going to be. I know the band that it's going to be from.
Okay, because my idea was I watched a thing about Lisbon, and I didn't realize this. I've never been to Lisbon, so I feel okay for not realizing it.
Very cool.
But apparently they're very, I mean, I'm sure most people already know this because they know about Lisbon and I don't, but discovering that there's a rich heritage of tiles on all the sides of the buildings, and it reflects the light. And so it's like a city full of light, and it changes shadows.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So I thought maybe if we could end with just "I'm Walking on Sunshine," just something, just something kind of happy and uplifting, maybe.
Not Third Eye Blind. I was gonna go Third Eye Blind.
If you would step back from that ledge, my friend. That one.
Sure.
Please don't jump. I know you're good at this. I know you're good at this. That's the only thing we're good at. But don't.
Yeah, those emo songs have been rough. I found out about bands I never knew existed.
But no, I'm excited. I want to go to Lisbon now. I just want to drink some port and eat some of that gross dried out fish they eat there, and just do that. Let's do this.
It's good. It's a cool place. It's a very cool place.
It sounds like an amazing city.
Yeah, and we should do as one final plug. I can basically end with this: is that if anyone is a writer or is interested in going to Lisbon, there is the summer literary seminars, have the Disquiet Festival, which is, I think it lasts for a week, but it might be 2 weeks. I'll find a link to it. But it's in Lisbon, and it's a writer's workshop, more or less, where writers get together, professional writers come, give them advice. They do like a lot of like writing that's based on, it's 2 weeks long, that's based on like travel writing, since you're in Lisbon, or other forms that you're interested in. I got to participate one time for a couple days. So it's got core workshops in fiction, memoir, and nonfiction, poetry, playwriting, and writing the Luso experience. There's optional workshops, including the Fernando Pessoa game, acting for writers, travel writing, editing, so on and so forth, seminars on aspects of the writing craft. And then we've been there. I came there once as to be a discussion with the editor about writing and about that aspect of it. And it's very cool, and it's very worth going. If you can apply, there's contests to get a fellowship. You can just apply and pay for it as well. But it's definitely worthwhile. It's really great experience, and it is a good way to get to know Lisbon and to get to see the city through like a more literary lens.
Yeah, but why do they call it Disquiet? I don't understand.
I don't either. I don't know. I think they just like that word.
Can you just end it on that? Just the question.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Edit that down to where it is with, yeah, but why do they call it Disquiet? Boom.
Okay. Right.
Done. All right, cool. Perfect.
And then Third Eye Blind.
Do. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, that's that song, right? That is their song. Last week it was the other band I hate, Blink 182.
Semi-charmed kind of life.
Semi-charmed kind of life. That's exactly. See, that's a happy song to end on. I think it has to deal with cocaine.
All right.
Cool. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, man.
Bye, man.